Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for joining us here today. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the life and legacy of my good friend Charlie Kirk. He was absolutely unafraid to say what millions of young Americans were starting to realize, that college for many has become a costly scam that leaves students in debt and unprepared for the real world that they are entering into. His advocacy helped spark a national conversation about educational freedom and the need for alternatives. Today's hearing continues that work by examining how school choice and career-focused pathways like apprenticeships can give students a real opportunity without the baggage of broken institutions and what they bring. Ms. Greszler, do you agree with Charlie Kirk's statement that college has become a multi-trillion-dollar scam for many of the students who are left with debt and indoctrination and no job after completing those courses?
Yes, for many of them it has, and that's because we have a situation where the government is not creating a level playing field, but instead putting hundreds of billions of dollars a year into subsidies that the Federal Reserve has said have done more to increase tuition than to have any positive outcomes. And at the same time as doing that, they're hampering apprenticeship programs. When Congress created the National Apprenticeship Program, it was 2 pages of legislation. There are hundreds of pages of regulations that are imposed on anybody that wants to start an apprenticeship program, and the Biden administration proposed hundreds more pages of regulations. They fortunately didn't finalize that, but we don't need a situation like this. We need to remove the barriers and put the equal playing field.
Hundreds and hundreds of regulations for a 2-page bill for apprenticeships. That's interesting. It seems like something that we need to address right away. President Trump certainly has a record of deregulation. So are you concerned that nearly half of recent graduates are underemployed, often working jobs that never required a college degree in the first place?
Absolutely, because the investment is not paying off for them. Not only are taxpayer dollars being wasted, but also those individuals are taking out tens of thousands of dollars in debt and not being able to repay it because we're lacking the market incentives to let them know what is actually a positive return on your investment. And so if we could get rid of the barriers that are out there, get rid of the subsidies, then more programs would be forced to not only provide an education that has positive returns, but also you wouldn't need the federal loans. Those programs themselves could have income-driven repayment plans, and so they would be willing to partner with students and say, you don't have to pay tuition up front, we're gonna partner with you, and we get a percentage of your earnings for a certain number of years afterwards, and that can take the federal government out of it completely.
Interesting. And so then it sounds like you would agree that the federal government has made the student debt crisis worse by prioritizing college loans over support for apprenticeships and skilled trade.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Mitchell, would you say that today's four-year colleges are more focused on pushing political agendas than preparing our students for real-world marketable skills?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think, unfortunately, what you see across the educational spectrum is that much of education, whether or not that's K-12 or even at the higher ed levels, it's not yielding the results for students that they need to be productive citizens, right? So the NAEP scores that were just released, the National Assessment of Educational Progress scores, show that our graduating seniors are performing academically at the lowest levels in history. Now, many of those are matriculating still into colleges, and we've got to ask the question, where did all of that money get used? Because the dollars have been, have increased over time. The academic results are decreasing over time. And as we've heard from other members of this panel today, kids are leaving with more debt than they are opportunity. And so we've got to ask some really hard questions, I think, about the entire education system and how we give families and kids more options.
Yes, and would you say that many of today's college graduates are more ideologically rigid than they are job ready after leaving?
Yeah, one of the things that is really interesting, some research comes out of the University of Arkansas, shows that students who participate in choice programs when they are in K through 12 are actually more civically engaged, right? They have greater exposure to civil discourse, for instance, which we are in dire need of, especially on campus. And so I'm hopeful that as we increase choice among K-12 students, that those young adults will be more prepared to engage with the world, to engage even with others who have different views from themselves in a civil manner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mitchell. Dr. Hershey, should more rural students be encouraged to pursue apprenticeships or trade careers instead of taking on debt for these 4-year degrees like they have been?
That's 100% our mission. We feel like it's one of the most critical needs for our rural kids to be able to get exposed to real-world experiences and have those internship opportunities so that they can get integrated right in. I mean, I had a kid come back who earned a welding certificate, and he was making 6 figures in half a year. You know, so there's definitely significant opportunity, which is why here in our district, we're really focusing on that internship work.
And do you
Thank you,
believe
the
that?
ladies'
Oh,
time's
I am
expired.
so sorry. I thought I had a minute left,
No,
Mr.
thank
Chairman. I apologize for that. Well, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.